From Byron Bay to Brisbane and beyond, the effects of Tropical Cyclone Alfred are being felt this morning. But the storm has stalled again, meaning it's expected the weather system won't make landfall until tomorrow morning, maybe even later. The Category 2 system, it is still a 2. It's moving at a glacial pace in the Pacific Ocean, as Rob Sharp outlined last hour, on average just 3 kilometres an hour. It's currently about 190 kilometres east of Brisbane. But its slow pace only prolongs the danger of flooding, heavy rain and destructive winds. We have reporters in key locations this morning tracking Alfred's movements. First, let's go to Josh Bristow from Victoria Point in Brisbane. So what are you seeing at the moment, Josh?
Yeah, Pete, good to talk to you this morning. I was going to cross to you before about how nice the conditions were this morning, but I think, as you can probably see through your TV screens, that has changed in about the last 5 minutes. Driving here, an extremely eerie experience this morning, Pete. The roads were empty, people were sheltering inside, and until about 5 minutes ago, as I said, it was a perfectly nice dry morning here in Brisbane. But if you look out into Moreton Bay, the rain is really starting to come in now. The tree out there, the tide is starting to rise. We've got boats out. The streets, if my camo turns around, the streets completely empty, people inside. Not too many sandbags though. As you said before, Tropical Cyclone Alfred is expected to make landfall a little bit later on Saturday, and they are expecting the course of the storm to hit Redcliffe, which is about 60 kilometres north of here in Redland Bay. 4 a.m. they're predicting at the moment over at Moreton Island, just outside where we are now in Redland Bay. He's currently sitting about 160 k's offshore, and as you said, he's a little bit tardy. He's done another pirouette overnight, and that's pushed it back even further. So we are at the moment expecting it to hit the main part of Redcliffe, Brisbane, 4 or 6 hours after it hits Moreton Island. But for now, people are sheltering inside. It is wet, it is windy, it's picking up. We'll see what it takes over the next couple of hours. But for now, people in Redland Bay are just sheltering and sitting and waiting and seeing what happens.
Yeah, OK, sitting and waiting. Josh, thank you so much. We'll chat again in another hour, see how things are going. Well, evacuations have been taking place across northern New South Wales ahead of major flooding. Coastal impacts are also increasing. Rhiannon Elston joins us from Byron Bay this morning. So what's it like there this morning, Rhiannon?
Yeah, it's a really fierce situation out here in Byron today. The sky's really grey and flat. The rain's starting to come in sideways. The wind's really picking up as well. Emergency warnings are in place for 23 locations across New South Wales, from the north coast all the way through to Port Macquarie. But Lismore was the real focus. Those evacuations yesterday, people being asked to leave the CBD and South Lismore, as well as a number of other areas. By 9 p.m. yesterday evening, authorities said the real concern there was getting people out before conditions become too dangerous for people to leave their homes. We are expecting major flooding along the Wilsons River potentially later today, and that could see Lismore inundated once again.
We cannot guarantee a boat for every house in the flood evacuation zone. So we can't guarantee that in the event of a major overflow of these rivers.
Now, here along the coast, we are starting to see the impacts really picking up. We had a wind gust of 120 kilometres per hour just here at Cape Byron a short time ago. That's certainly strong enough to knock you off your feet. The waves as well, the surf becoming really angry. We've seen waves up and over 6 metres along the east coast today and in the last 24 hours. So that is getting up there with some of the biggest waves ever recorded on the east coast of Australia. The winds are a real concern for authorities at the moment, and as this situation worsens, as we know it's going to do over the next 24 hours or so, flying debris, we're already seeing some around, some small tree branches for the moment moving around, and authorities are certainly preparing for those worsening conditions. At one of the cyclone updates we heard yesterday, there was even a call out for blood donors, which wasn't really explained, but you could certainly imagine that that might be because that hospitals are expecting an influx in cyclone injuries with that debris flying around. So wind is going to be the first and foremost concern here. in Byron over the next 24 hours, and then it will, of course, move through to inland areas where that flood situation is likely to worsen and could last for weeks.
Our main concern at the moment is when that wind comes through, the wind will bring down the power lines and bring down the trees, which may stop emergency services getting to you when that flooding occurs.
So authorities will certainly be watching the situation here along the coast and further inland as we see this system approaching landfall.
OK, see a lot of white water there behind you, Rhiannon. Let's move north now to the Gold Coast where Kaiser Shields joined us. So what are you seeing this morning, Kaiser?
Pete, I'm at Snappers Rocks this morning where we're starting to get a real sense of the power of Tropical Cyclone Alfred as it makes its way towards the coast of southeast Queensland. The rain and the wind has been absolutely unrelenting overnight, but take a look at the sea behind me. It is angry to say the least, and it is starting to resemble a washing machine. There is a lot of white water out there, and those powerful waves are continuing to roll in. The beach itself going all the way up to where the green netting is on the beach. Now, yesterday, the Gold Coast saw a record metre, a 12.3 metre wave roll in at Main Beach, and it is these storm surges and these really huge waves that are causing coastal erosion all along the Gold Coast beaches. Now, people have been turning out to see this as a spectacle, but as the conditions have worsened overnight, I expect people will start to be deterred to stop doing that. Now, flooding is also a risk from these tidal surges and from these huge waves. We know on the Gold Coast there are 6,000 homes that are at risk of being inundated with water. This morning, Pete, people are waking up and 20,000 homes along the Gold Coast are currently without power. There are trees and branches that have fallen down all over the place, in the middle of the road even as well. So we are really starting to see what impact this tropical cyclone is going to have, and it hasn't even made landfall yet.